So, Leon, thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing to come along and have a few coaching sessions with me. I'm really looking forward to it. Let me explain a little bit about today. The idea is this is our first session, so we want to work a little bit on what your overarching goal is. Also, talk a bit about how we should work together, and what you would like, what would appeal to you. But then also see if we can draw out a few topics from you. So that you can decide what topics you want to bring to the ongoing coaching sessions we're going to have. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Fab. Okay. Well, let's start with this question then. I mean, I know that you and I have, we've had lots of work together, various things over the years with Toastmasters and other stuff. But coaching, like, what's been your experience of having any coaching, if any?
Zero, really. I know there's a big difference between coaching and mentoring.
Yeah.
And I've certainly had mentoring all through my life at different stages for work and that sort of thing. I suppose I've often thought about coaching in terms of sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, coaching for squash or football or something like that. But certainly not for matters concerning your profession or your personal life. So yeah, mentoring is the only thing I've got really any kind of had any experience with, working with a mentor.
Right. And how did you find that? What have you found useful about any mentoring you've had over the years?
It's been really good, actually. I mean, a mentor doesn't have to be somebody who has got years and years of experience. It's just somebody who is a bit further ahead than yourself. And Toastmasters has always been a good place for that. Some of the more experienced Toastmasters have been great mentors for me, looking at what you're doing and your speeches and that kind of thing. So yeah, I've enjoyed mentoring. I've got a very good mentor in terms of the work I do. It's somebody that I can call on at any time.
Yeah.
And if I've got questions, technical questions, stuff to do with the expert work I do, he's sure enough, he's been there, done it, and he's got good tips to offer and support. So yeah, that's been good.
Right. And you are, you're rightly drawing out these really essential elements of mentoring, isn't it? That they're just a bit ahead of you, that they offer tips, probably a bit of training, and probably a bit of encouragement, right? A bit of a nudge to let you see you can do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And so what's your best guess, even if you haven't had any coaching, what's your best guess about how coaching works in comparison with mentoring? How do you think it might be similar or different?
I think what I understand about coaching, and this is only really from what I've read, is that it empowers you as the client to make changes, differences in your life, to achieve your targets. So when as somebody that new to coaching, your head's full of all these things that you want to get through and issues, and the coach is somebody there that gives you a road, a path to follow, and you go along that path and you find your own way through through them steering you, I guess. I don't know if that's anywhere near like what it actually is, but that's how I understood it.
Well, I think there's elements of it that are very near. I think the idea of you go along the path is really important, and as coaches, our job is not to steer you. That's probably more mentoring, but it is to help you understand which is the right path. And I think that's a brilliant metaphor, actually, because we often all hit those forks in the road, don't we? Is it A, B, or C? And it's not the coach's job to say it's A or B. It's for the coach to say, well, pros and cons of A and B and C, and then you choose. So coaching is predominantly about listening and questioning. Mentoring is probably lots of listening, lots of questioning, but also guidance, advice, and giving you direction. So they've got lots of overlaps, but the big difference is that you remain in control, I think, in coaching. And you've used this lovely word to describe your profession, which is expert. You are the expert. You're the expert in your life, your profession, and we're here to help you see what you need to see.
Okay.
How's that as a description?
Yeah, that makes it a lot clearer.
Okay. And what would you imagine, and I know we're guessing here, right? But what would you imagine might be the benefit for you of having coaching at this stage in your career, yeah, as opposed to mentoring?
I'm not entirely sure. I think that will come clearer as we go on. I can see a lot of benefits in both. Well, certainly mentoring, because I know about mentoring.
Yeah.
But I understand that, there's people out there that do coaching and with clients who get really great end results.
Yes.
They are able to achieve something they never thought they could.
Yes.
And I'm up against that kind of situation, I suppose. I'm at a juncture in my life where I've got a lot of things in front of me that I need to put in order, and maybe some of them aren't needed, and maybe I've got to get beyond that and achieve, because I've probably got another 7, 10, maybe 12 years of work left in me, and I want to do something amazing with that. But I don't want it to all be about work. It's life as well. So, sorry, does that answer it?
Yeah, it does, and it also starts to set the scene about what we're going to talk about in a minute, which is pulling out all of your goals. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, and if I was to say, just to finish off this idea of defining coaching, is that with those goals that you've got in mind, the idea will be that you'll get a chance to really look at them and really consider them, and we'll probably take session by session one of those topics that you'll identify today, and you'll work through it, and I'll sit and I'll listen and I'll ask hopefully some helpful questions so that you can come to some sort of conclusions, so that you can get to what you said is, do something amazing with the next bit of your professional career. How's that sound?
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, fab. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the goal then. We'll have a few coaching sessions, and you can mix and match like the personal and the professional, and you might find discrete topics for each of those. But if you were going to have an overarching goal, one thing you think, this is where I'd like to be at the end of 3 or 4 or 5 sessions, how would you describe that goal?
Yeah. So my work, work is probably the career that I'm in, or the job that I do. I run a business. There is a prospect where I could go and work overseas, and there's lots of little steps happening to make that happen, that I'm currently involved in, meetings and mixing with the right people. But the big thing for me is, how do I make that transition there at the end? I'm running a business now. It's very busy here. I've got everything here, and I've built that up over 20 odd years. And to suddenly skip and work overseas, totally different environment, leaving this behind. That's the big thing for me at the moment. But wrapped into that is also the fact that, my kids are teenagers still, and although they have said that they support me in the idea of going to work overseas, I just want to know that they are genuine about that, and it's not going to be something, when I'm there at the airport with my flight tickets and they come running over and saying, "Dad, don't go." And that'd be too late, because, I would have probably wound everything down here to make that move. It's so big. It's a huge move. But yeah, there's something in me that really wants to do that, and I've done it before. And I suppose that's half the problem. I have been overseas before, and I loved it. And this opportunity's come around again. So that's what I'm kind of up against. Yeah, big decisions.
Yeah, so it's not small beer, is it? It's a substantial decision. And is there a time frame on how long you would be there for? Is it open-ended?
It is open-ended. From what I understand about the role, it's and a new department for this firm, but they do a lot of work in the Caribbean, and so these are projects in construction. And if it went well, I could see myself being out there for the rest of my career.
Okay. Okay, well, it's really big. It's really significant. Okay, fab.
Yeah.
And have you got a time frame that they need you to make a definite sign here decision?
It's not going to happen overnight, but I would have hoped, or I'd hoped that probably I would have had a job offer,
Yeah.
maybe before the autumn of this year, and then with a view to going over there for a short period at the end of this year, and then I'd probably have to come back and deal with matters over here, and then I'd go back permanently.
Yes.
So that's kind of how I have it framed in my mind at the moment, but nobody's actually laid this out in front of me. So yeah, it's odd because I'm only talking to one person,
Yeah.
and yet there's a lot of other people involved in the background that I haven't spoken with or know their views or thoughts. There's an interview to go through, so it could all depend on that as well. Yeah.
Okay. But whether it works, whether they want you, whether you pass the interview, nevertheless, you need to decide, right? If they offer it, it's a yes or a no.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we fast forward to the end of these sessions, and let's say you've worked through this and you've made a decision, and it's either a yes or no, but no doubt that there'll be lots of learnings on the way. What would it mean for you to get to that place?
Um, I for me to get to there is to get through all of the negative thoughts, the doubt that might creep in about all of this. And for every day that I sit here in this office, I get new work coming. It's loading me up more and more. And that's great for business. I'm doing great business here. It's been the best in a long, long time. So it couldn't happen at a worse time for somebody to come along with an offer of something else that means I have to give all of this up. So the end game or the end result has got to be that I've managed to deal with everything, put it in its right place, finish a lot of the projects that I'm on, and be in a nice, comfortable position where that transition can happen more smoothly.
Yes.
There may even be opportunities to take some of that work with me. There's no reason why I couldn't deal with that, in another part of the world. Yeah, but it's having a clear path, and there's all the other things aside from that domestically. What I do with my property, renting it out, my belongings, and of course, most importantly, my kids. How I kind of liaise or how I communicate the whole thing to them, so that they're always involved and they understand, and I understand how they feel throughout this whole process as well. Yeah.
Okay. So this is not just about some hours of us talking and you making a decision, yes or no. There's all sorts of strands coming out of it that are important to you. Okay. And if we got to that end stage and you could see actually you seeing the pathway, these pathways were all clear and everything was settled in your mind. I know I'm going to ask you to guess now, but how do you think you might feel if everything was settled?
At the end of this, you mean?
Yeah, at the end of you and me doing this work.
So everything being settled, as in, I'm happy with how it all looks, and
you're happy with whatever decision it is, and you're happy that you've got arrangements, and if it's a no, you've got a contented plan B, and if it's a yes, all your ducks are in a row. How do you think you might feel?
Very excited about it. Yeah. So far I've not had any moments of doubt. Really. It's a really fantastic opportunity. And I think the thing that might pull me back is, I suppose, that there's going to be some uncertainty about giving up everything here, because if I do go there and then I don't like it, I'm really kind of buggered. Excuse me, French. I'm really kind of messed up about that, because it means then I can't really just come straight back and everything's already there in place for me to move back into my old job.
Yeah.
There's a big element there of that, a risk. Yeah, big risk.
So it's a bit mutiny in the bounty, isn't it? It's burning the bridges, isn't it? If you go, that coming back is harder.
Yeah, I know there's a way through this. I'm sure there is. I mean, having a taster session of what work and life out there would be like,
Yeah,
be a great opportunity. And I think perhaps that's what I really need to have before I go there lock, stock, and barrel. If that could be arranged, that I can just go for a couple of weeks, a couple of months even,
yeah,
and then nobody's the wiser about the fact I've done that. The people over here, my clients and everybody, um, they still think I'm involved.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that could work. I know I've had first-hand experience of where it was a problem when years and years ago when I went to work overseas. The company I was with in the UK sent me overseas, but I was running a lot of projects for them in the UK, and I was so absorbed by the idea of going abroad, I neglected some of that work, and that backfired on me a bit. So I did get my fingers a little bit burnt because of that. But that was just, yeah, I learned a good lesson from that. That I recognise I have to really properly secure things here,
yes,
and do a good job of wrapping it up so that I don't have that to worry about when I do go abroad.
yeah. Okay. And you're taking those lessons away. That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
You remember those things. All right. So to be clear, like for today, we're not going to try and resolve the should I go or should I not go and try and plan it. But it's clear from what you're saying is that there's enthusiasm. What we want to do now is try and work out what topics that we will bring to each of the discrete coaching sessions we'll have. So from what you said, do we need to make the first session all about, should I stay and should I go? And if I'm going to go, what are all the ifs and buts that you started to talk about? Would that be a good place to start?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And what would it mean to get those questions answered for you?
Oh, it's a big step. I've not properly sat down myself and thought about it. I've just been trying to manifest this whole idea. I've talked to a lot of people when I probably shouldn't have, and telling them about my plan.
Yeah.
I'm always telling myself, actually, stay quiet about these things until you know it's a certainty.
Yes.
But yeah, in a way, I have manifest these things, and I think I've not really sat back and thought about the thing where it could go wrong.
Yes.
If I don't do X or Y, then it's going to turn. It's not going to happen, or something will go wrong. So yeah, I think because it's so important, I really have to do this very carefully.
Okay. So it sounds like there'd be benefit of having a session when I ask or you ask yourself those questions about all the what ifs and all the considering all of the different aspects. What do you need to make sure that's well put in place? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So that will be your first session. If we've got another 2 or 3 sessions, let's see if we can tease out a few more topics that relate to this. So there might be topics, some of these other things that you've mentioned, like attendant to that, for example, stuff to do with your kids, stuff to do with the practicalities in the UK, or there might be topics from that questionnaire that I asked you to complete, which talked a little bit about your drivers. So let's just chuck it all a bit in the mix. Like, what other things are you thinking? Actually, I really want to talk about these things. There were other things that are still clouding my mind. What sort of things come to your mind?
Yeah, the first thing that jumps out there is that a lot of my life, the period of my life, has been about work.
Yeah.
Sadly to say that. I've got a lot of hobbies. I loved Toastmastering when I was doing that. I did that for a number of years, and I play in a band. I've got some toys like a bike and a nice car. So a lot of my time is spent not a lot of my time, but when I'm not working,
Yeah.
some of that time is spent doing some of them things. But all through this period, I've been in and out of a few little relationships, and and I suppose a big part of all of this going abroad is I mean, it's not, I don't want to think of it as escapism, but I've not been anchored down to any kind of relationship here. It's there's been just dalliances with with people, and I know that if I did meet somebody very special, I you know, a lot of these plans might not happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know, actually, would it? I did meet somebody not long ago, and I had great visions of what could have been. In fact, even she was very keen on the Caymans. um, so yeah, I don't think it's escapism. I know I said that earlier, but I think part of my life needs to be fulfilled in terms of having a life partner or
Yeah.
something there, and it's not just to fill a gap. I think that it's the other way around. I've used a lot of these things I do, um, hobbies and whatnot, not to fill an empty space in my life. And you know, I know what having a life partner has been about. I was married for a long time. Um, so in a way, I'm thinking, yeah, there's that to it as well. You know, it can't just all be about work. There's got to be um, some element of me there that can uh, have the opportunity to meet somebody. Because I think with all these things I'm involved in, I just don't give myself the opportunity.
Okay. So I mean, I'm by no means a dating coach. I could be a divorce coach, but not a dating coach.
Yeah.
Definitely not that. But what would that mean to you to devote a bit of time to talking about this, the idea of life partners and relationships, and thinking about all of that aspect? What would it mean?
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Um, yeah, I don't know how deep you have to go into that subject.
Yes.
Um, you know, if we're just sort of talking around the peripheral of it, it's probably fine. I don't know really, Charlie, but yeah, I think it is important because obviously these other things that I've spoken about, my other aspirations, I can't ignore this element of it either, you know.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, to be a fulfilled person, you can't just do that through work and achievements of that kind. There's got to be um, some success in your personal life, you know, family, a partner, that kind of thing, really. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And if we were to talk about that, I mean, obviously there's, if you like, there's a tactical approach, right? Isn't there? What do I do? Where do I go? How do I meet people? How do I present myself and all of that? But then there's also like the drivers that like what's important to me, what matters about this, what difference would it make to my life? For from a coaching perspective, is it more about exploring the tactical stuff or more the you know the understanding of yourself within this?
Um, I probably feel like it's more the tactical thing at this stage. Maybe that will resolve the other side as well. You know, it's finding a way that I can achieve these things without having to do it. You know, spend 24/7 working on it.
Yes.
I've got some more time. I'm more effective at what I can achieve
Yes.
without having to without it having to involve extra hours of my day. And
Yes.
maybe then, you know, I've got that time I can use to um, spend on me or on a relationship, even, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know if that sounds right. Um, yeah, yeah, I don't, I'm not sure. You know, you mentioned the other side where looking at me, that side of it, I think that's also really important. That's the deeper side.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, probably more important thinking about it. Mm.
We don't have to choose one or the other. I was just trying to
Oh,
get
okay.
a bit of a sense.
Yeah.
You might find that actually both become relevant and both sort of overlap a little bit. Okay, so would this be a topic then, one that you think actually spending a coaching hour on this would be useful for you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got our first session, which is all about the big decision and all the spin-offs from that. The second is about personal fulfillment in terms of relationship. What other subtopics are bubbling away for you?
When you say topics, so
Like if the overall goal is, do I stay or do I go, and how do I make that work? And then all these other topics are areas that you might think actually it's really worth giving that discrete time rather than trying to shoehorn it into your first session. So talking
yeah.
about the relationship. Yeah.
I suppose on a more macroscopic scale, it's something like self-doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to suffer with that a lot, and less so now, but it's still something I deal with every now and again. The oh, what do you call it? There's a word for it, isn't there? A phrase. I can't think of it now. It's when you don't believe in yourself that you've achieved what you've achieved.
So these days, a lot of people are referring to the imposter syndrome. Is that the one you mean?
Yeah. So because I'm always pushing myself, I mean, I've extended what I do as a profession into this expert field of work, and that's quite demanding. And I'm still very new to this.
Yeah.
And it's a field of work that can really affect that aspect, the imposter syndrome, because you are being challenged all of the time.
Yeah.
So that's not good for somebody who has a self-doubt.
And when you say being challenged, I mean, I think I know, but to be clear, do you mean like sort of professionally challenged, your view,
Yeah.
picked over in courts of law and that type of thing?
Yeah. Other people in a similar field of work, they're going to look at what you're saying and compare with what their view is. And yeah, you can be up against some very eminent people, and you've got to really believe in what you're saying.
Yes.
And otherwise, because they're very high stakes. You get it wrong, and you can really be in a lot of in real difficulty.
Yes.
So it's always been a problem for me in engineering. Even as a consulting engineer, you'll get challenged by other people involved in that project, ask questions, that sort of thing. You've got to have, you've got to be sure of yourself.
Yeah.
And so I've gone a step higher now with that, more into the legal field, and that's where it's really serious stuff. Yeah.
I can imagine. And is it self-doubt, like even if technically you've done your maths, you've done the calculations, you've done all the research, and you know what you're saying is right. Is it when you get challenged, even if you know you're right, the doubts creep in?
Yeah, I think it does. I think I'm very agreeable and perhaps a bit too nice when it comes to things like that. When in that kind of challenging situation, I'm looking for the easy path. Perhaps when I should be really pushing my point and making a strong argument.
Yes.
So yeah, I think arguing is something I'm not that good at.
Yes.
Which really, as an expert, you do have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah, because it's not always that you've got plenty of time to play devil's advocate with what you're saying, and you're going to have to go in there cold, and you've got to be able to stand your ground. So I think that's, to me, that's, well, it's not actually happened yet, so I know it will do.
Yeah.
The more I do of that kind of work, that will happen, and there's potential for me to do that kind of work overseas as well with this prospect that's coming along. So it'd be a kind of dual role, being an engineer and being an expert witness in that region. So yeah, I think it's really, if I can get a better handle on the confidence side and less self-doubt, that will be a huge step.
Right. So and so, I mean, it sounded like that you're talking about the belief thing, the self-doubt, but also something a bit technical there, which is the argumentation, the cut and thrust, the quick thinking in those sort of those goldfish bowl moments. Like, is it the two together and they're like sort of codependent on each other?
Yeah, I'd say definitely.
Okay. And what would it mean to you to get somewhere with this self-doubt idea professionally?
Yeah, I don't know when I'd recognise that it's something I've been able to deal with or dealt with.
Yeah.
It'll just, I'll know when I'm there in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you get to that stage, really.
Okay. But worth putting in time on, right?
Sorry?
Worth us putting some time on that one.
Yeah. I think that would be a really good one to analyse. Right. Yeah, definitely.
Fab. Okay. So we've got three topics now, haven't we? We've got the overarching goal of going, we've got the personal relationship, we've got the self-doubt and the expert witness work. Is there a final one you want to work on? Something that emerges around this topic?
I suppose, yeah, one of the things is how I use my time. I do procrastinate sometimes, and that's probably more because I'm overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah.
And I can lose hours or half a day or something by not being able to progress with anything.
Yeah.
Because it's all there in front of me, and I end up, I don't know if procrastination is the right word for that, but being overwhelmed with just too much on. And I think this prospect that I've talked about will make that even worse.
Yeah.
I haven't even stopped to think of the enormity of things I'm going to have to do.
Yeah.
To make that happen. So I recognise that having a good plan in place very early on is probably the only way I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure even how you start that plan. Yeah, because I'm just doing the same thing every day as I've done always in the past. So I'm not putting a plan together yet. All I'm doing is manifesting this prospect in my mind, talking about it. But if it happens, it will happen fast. So I think I need to have a good plan in place. Yeah.
And a plan, but also with an awareness that you need to have it locked down a bit so that you don't procrastinate, or you don't suffer with any procrastination.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. And at the moment, you said you're at the pre-plan stage. You haven't even put it pen to paper. You don't know where to start.
I haven't started at all on that. No.
Okay. Do you want to start on it, or do you want to wait and talk it through before you start on it?
I don't mind. I'm happy to do either.
Okay.
Really, whatever you think. Yeah.
Okay. And like with all these things you're talking about, how significant do you think having a plan is for you to make sure that this happens? Does it feel like it's a deal breaker, or it's a nice support, or something in between?
Yeah, I think it's really important. Okay. Probably the most important thing. Okay. Really. Yeah, a good plan. And it could be a plan that you just keep adding to as things evolve. But it's I've got no clue how you go about that, because it's got to involve not just work, but domestic life, all of that. Renting your house out, finishing, DIY that needs doing so that the place is rentable.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of things. Yeah, if I stop to even think for a minute about what's involved, I'll just get a fog.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And when you say that, you know, I mean, what feelings does it bring up when you start listing all of those things you might have to do? I got a little bit of a stomach flip thinking, oh, blimey, yeah, there is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It sort of makes me stop and think, should you even be doing this?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I know that I can do it, and but I don't want to mess it up.
Yeah.
If I went there and things weren't properly wrapped up over here, I don't think that really helped me. So yeah, I think I really need to be in a positive position, positive mind,
Yeah.
happy everything's been dealt with, and then make that move.
Okay. So the plan is going to support and underpin this. And like you said, it could overwhelm you. You might write everything down on a piece of paper and think, oh, I can't do this now. So you're aware of that. But giving a bit of focus to the plan is important.
It really is. And I think, like you said there, Charlie, is that reflecting on what's involved may change my mind.
Yes.
Because I'm not having such a hard time of things here.
Yeah.
I've got a great business. I'm enjoying the work I do, and I've got, clients that keep coming back for more of my work. So yeah, there's a big gamble.
Yeah.
So the plan is so important.
Okay.
It really is. Yeah.
So what you might find is that the plan, it might connect with that first topic of, making the decision and working out, do I go or not? Or it might serve on its own. It might have a separate session. And I think we'll only know that when we've gone through our first session.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I check with you? There was one topic that probably hasn't been touched, or you started talking about it, which is your kit. It's do they fit in that first session when you're talking about the big decision of should I go or not, or do they fit into this fourth session here of the planning, and or do they just run through everything?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, yeah, they do run through everything. Yeah, I can't immediately. I mean, they've got very good support at home with their mum. My lad is 19, he's going to be 20 this year, so he's an adult.
Yeah.
He's going to uni. My daughter is at college and she'll eventually go to uni. So I've always been there for them.
Yeah.
They see me every week. We get together and have dinner. And yeah, if I'm not here anymore, I'm in a different time zone. That's quite different. What do? I just see them for a holiday occasionally, or if I ever happen to come back for a short period. So I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
There could be a long period of time when I don't see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they've even thought about that. They may be thinking, oh, you might pop back a couple of times a year. I don't think it would work that way. Once you're ingrained in the life over there, the weeks, days, weeks, months will whiz by, and you'll realize you haven't seen your kids for a year or more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really strange thing to go through or even think about.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine it's really important that you need to talk about this. Okay, well, wherever and whenever, whether you want to have a separate session on that, or whether it just pops up organically as we're talking it along, please let's make sure that you give enough attention to that for you.
Sure.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
All right. Okay. So let's draw this little bit to a close, if it's all right. And like, how clear are you on those four topics? Do you just want to run through them just so that they're clear in your head? I know I've summarized them. So
be good to summarize them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So first topic, overall goal. Second topic is the personal relationship aspect. The third topic here is the feelings that you've got around professional work and self-doubt and in the arena. And then the fourth one is putting a plan together.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Is there an obvious order where we should start, or does it not matter for you?
I guess really starting out with the plan,
Yeah.
the beginnings of everything else falling into that plan, and yeah, I suppose it affects everything. Um, and the plan, of course, is being written on the basis of the me, you know, achieving this end goal.
Yes.
Um, the family side of things is wrapped up into that as well,
Yeah.
and yeah, as a sort of sideline is, of course, the self-doubt element,
Yeah.
making sure that this plan will work, and I'm
Yes.
not going to be doubtful of it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right. Okay, so we've got an order and a sequence, haven't we? And as you say, those personal feelings can support the decision. Fab. So thank you so much for getting stuck in and for sharing. And I appreciate that, there's loads going on and it's quite personal. But before we finish off, it'd be really good to talk a little bit about how we're going to work together. What you've seen today is more or less what we do in coaching, except what I've done is ask you questions and you've come up with thoughts and ideas, and I've asked you more about them. But what we haven't done is what I call coaching you through them. We haven't come to a conclusion, have we, or into any
yeah,
endpoints or goals. Well, in each coaching session, what we'll do is take each of those topics and get right through to the goal, right through to the actions and the decisions. Does this style of working suit you? I mean, you can see it's different to mentoring, can't you? I haven't got any suggestions or any advice on any of these things. It's well
yeah.
outside of my remit. But is it working for you okay like this?
Yeah, I'm intrigued to know, what I have to do, my part in all of this,
Yes.
and so yeah, I'm sure that will come to, I'll realise that as we progress through this,
Yes.
So yeah, yeah, it sounds really, really good.
Well, your part in this, I think, is doing more of what you've done, which is, think these things through on a deep and personal level, and come up with ideas and thoughts and answers that are for you, that help your gradual understanding in all of this, and you're doing lots of great things, which is being open and vulnerable and sharing doubts, which I think is going to be good for you and your reflection and your growth.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And there's a couple of technical things that I wanted to say. Firstly, when we do work together, there's probably a couple of things that I do quite often, which might help. One is if you're not speaking, it doesn't mean you're not thinking. So we might be quiet for a little bit. You might just be pausing and reflecting. And I'm never going to interrupt you. I'm always just going to give you that extra bit of silent time. It might feel a little bit strange because that doesn't happen often in conversation, but we
Yeah.
know about the pause from Toastmasters, right?
Yes.
Are you okay with that? You're right with that bit of silence?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fab.
Absolutely.
Um, and then in terms of like being quite robust, quite often what I want to do to help is to ask questions that may move you on, may move you beyond, and they may feel a little bit challenging, not critical, but a bit of respectful challenge to help you see maybe what are you not considering, or what's the other side of this, that type of thing.
Yeah.
How do you feel about having a little bit of challenge along the way to help?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And what would that mean to you, do you think, to get a bit of challenge? How might that help?
Yeah, I think I recognise that's how you move forward. You can't. It's not going to happen if you don't get pushed along, or if there's hurdles to jump. So yeah, and it's a good feeling when you work at something and it's been hard and you get through it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, for example, today you said that beautiful phrase, I'm a little bit too nice. Well, too nice is wonderful as a dad, isn't it? And it's great as a friend and a colleague. But then not so much as an expert witness, right? So we might have to look at things like that to be able to see
Yeah.
where those things can shift. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And in terms of how we work, you know me well enough. I'm quite informal. Clearly we're doing some recordings, so that's slightly different. But do you want us to be quite informal? Do you want us to be quite formal, procedural? What appeals best in what's going to bring out the best for you here?
I'd say probably informal, like we're doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That works for me. That kind of way. Mhm.
Okay. And then a couple of questions about like technical things. At the end of each session, you're likely to leave with things to do, things that you've decided to do. I can either leave you alone and let you crack on with those things, and then we'll just see how you got on at the beginning of the next session. Or I can give you a little nudge and a little check-in and make sure you're doing them. I'm very mindful that you used the word procrastination before. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer to just do your actions yourself, or do you want a little bit of a nudge?
I'm not sure. A nudge is good, especially because I'm here all hours doing other bits of work and whatnot. So it's good to get a nudge. Let's see how that goes, Charlie. Yeah, initially. Otherwise, I'd like to be able to do it without that, but I think maybe initially I need that.
Okay. So just a little WhatsApp or an email, just a bit of a how
That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Fab. And Hannah, have you got any particular requests? I mean, you can see this is my way of working. I've said it's non-advisory, and we've got a few parameters. But is there anything else you think? I really hope Charlie does this, or I really hope he doesn't do that. Anything you think about how we could work together?
No, I think that's. I mean, it's going to be just about these sessions, not in between, I assume.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of anything on that one, to be honest, at this stage. No, but yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, I just wanted to have a few minutes on that, just so that you've given me a steer of how you want to be. I can assume you want me to be a certain way, but I think it's really important to check.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of this time, and thank you, Leon. I really appreciate it. You've done a lot. You've already started doing a lot of thinking about this, and you've shared very openly, and I appreciate that. What's been your learning, like talking through all of these things and just getting going with this big thing? What's been your learning about yourself about talking this through?
Yeah, well, it's brought a lot of things together in one conversation, really, where a lot of my thoughts have been about these things individually.
Yeah.
But they're not really individual items. They do all kind of mix together.
Yeah.
They're all part of the same thing. So I think, that's been the realization of that has been really good.
Yes.
And just really understanding that to make this all happen and for it to be less painful, there really does need to be a plan in place.
Yeah.
It all centers around that in many ways. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you could see. Yeah, and you've mapped it out well, haven't you? Like there is work to be done, but you're starting to pick up and seeing what's needed. Okay. And what are you looking forward to? Both about us talking these through in a few sessions, but also, what's going alongside this evolving idea. What are you looking forward to?
Yeah. Clarity on the whole thing. Because I'm only thinking almost blinkered about one prospect.
Yes.
When really there could be other things that come from this.
Yes.
Spring offs, or it makes me realize that I've got it good here and I don't need to change anything. So I can see that being something that could come from this, because I'm not, as much as having great conversations with friends and family, good listeners, but they're not going to give me the benefit of what you're giving me here and the opportunity to be coached. And I think that's, for such a big issue, a big deal, I don't know how anyone can make these decisions on their own, really, very easily.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the fact that coaching could really help me in this situation.
Good. Well, and I'm really pleased. And thank you for trusting this and trusting this process, because it is, this is, you've reached a proper fork in the road in your life, haven't you? And it's a really big decision. And I mean, I would encourage you to think, do you need something else as well? Do you need a mentor for this? Do you need, a financial advisor? Do you need other people who deal with stuff that is outside of this environment? But I'm really pleased to be able to help you work through this, and I'm really looking forward to these sessions too.
Yeah, that's great.
Great. How are you feeling now as we come to an end?
Yeah, very good about it. Yeah, very good.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Leon. I really appreciate that, and I'll look forward to more talking about all of this.
Thanks then, Charlie.
Okay, real pleasure.